We will be doing a short Q&A afterwards. And again, hopefully we answer all your questions. Now I will move it over to my partner, Neil Simon, who will have a few things to say. Neil?
Thank you very much, Dennis, and good afternoon, everybody, and thank you very much for joining us today for the conference call. Michael and I have been together for a long, long time, and we were talking because I think it's one of the most, if not the most exciting, I guess, event that's happened, which Michael will give you, of course, an overview on what CYMAT is doing and so on. But obviously, the press release made on July 5th, a couple of days ago on the automotive side. I think a lot of people have been expecting this or hoping for it, as both Michael and I guess all the CYMAT management team and board has been hoping for it. It's finally come to fruition. I think it's on a really good path. I think it's very exciting. Michael and I were talking. Michael thought it was a really good idea, to really talk about what really the interpretation of this automotive contract means to CYMAT, to the company's growth and future. And I think we thought, I'm rephrase, I think Michael thought it was a really good idea, which I agreed with, to really get everyone on the phone or on a call to really talk about this recent release, which I think has been the forefront of most investors' minds. On that note, I'm going to hand it over to Michael now because, excuse me, I know no one's really here to hear me speak. I just want to say that we're very excited, and I want to congratulate Michael and his team. Last year, he's built a very strong infrastructure, bringing in people from huge firms like Woodbridge and some various Westcast, excuse me, big firms, put together a very strong team that was critical to me and, or I guess to Michael as well, and certainly building this company to where potentially it can go. So I want to say congratulations, though, because I think signing this first contract is a big milestone and something I know Michael's been working on for a long, long time. And but seeing these things come to fruition now is I think game changing for the company. I am a large shareholder, for the record. It's certainly in the top 10, I bet. I've been supporting the stock. I bought the stock as high as 90. It closed today at 63 on about 250,000 shares of buying. Market looks pretty thin. The stock was very tightly held. We've got a really, really good shareholder base. Michael's had supporters for a long, long time. Well, millions of shares. Again, me being one of them, but it's got a great shareholder base, which I think is also really important. So on that note, again, Michael, congratulations. We look forward to hearing you update everybody on what's happening with Illusion. But of course, I think that the dominant interest is wrapped on the automotive or your entry into automotive. And we're very excited for you. And again, congratulations. I'll hand it back to you, Dennis, or to give it over to Michael to talk to us and update us on what's happening.
Great. Thanks, Neil and Dennis. I trust I'm off mute. You can hear me? All right. Welcome, everybody, first off, and thank you for taking the time to listen to our story at CYMAT. Clearly, this is a very exciting time for us at CYMAT, something we've been waiting for a long time. And what I'll do is I'll give a bit of an overview of the company, because I'm sure there are some people here who aren't intimately familiar with what we do. And then I will spend a bunch of time at the end talking about the press release we just put out, the contract with the OEM and what all of it means, timelines, and that sort of thing. And as Dennis and Neil said, happy to take questions at the end and answer them as best I can. So CYMAT is a materials technology company, and our principal technology is aluminum foam, which I happen to have a block here. So aluminum foam, why is it interesting? Obviously, it's very light. We make it anywhere from 2% aluminum up to 50% aluminum. So I'm not sure whether I can focus those, but for those of you who haven't seen aluminum foam, that's what it looks like. Principal attributes of the material and why it's interesting is that it's obviously very lightweight, because it's made of aluminum, which is a very lightweight metal, and it's mostly air. It's a cellular structure, which means that when you crush it, it absorbs energy, kinetic energy, and that's important in various industry verticals that we're in. It's strain rate insensitive, which is a really fancy word for you can hit it as fast as you. It's always going to perform the same. It's got EMI or EMS properties, electromagnetic shielding properties, which are very attractive and very topical these days with what's happening in the military space. It's got sound acoustic properties because it's mostly air, and it's also got thermal properties, again, because it's mostly air. So that's the material. We operate in three principal verticals. The first one is Illusion. That's our architectural and design vertical. And it's used principally in facade applications and principally for, I guess, the cool factor. Everything in architecture these days is going contemporary, and it's a very contemporary organic looking material. It does have lots of other benefits because it's very lightweight, very stiff material, which all factors into why a designer would spec it, but principally it's a cool factor. Then Smart Metal is the brand name that we sell the engineering properties of the material under. And the reason you would use it for engineering purposes, again, is because it's very lightweight and it absorbs energy. So say in military particularly, it's very good at absorbing the blast wave that precedes an explosion. Very few materials can do that. Other cellular materials aren't strong enough to do that. Only metals can do that. And then EMS properties and the like. And the third vertical is the joint venture that we have with Alucoil in Spain. There we're trying to produce brazed aluminum sandwich panels where our material is the substrate, and it's lined with 2 sheets of aluminum. And what's unique about it is rather than using adhesives to put it all together, we braze it all as one unit, so effectively weld it together. And that's really important for fire resistance, so that you don't get delamination, and you get a very, very stiff, strong panel. So what I'll do is I'll talk a little bit about what the highlights are in each of our commercial verticals, what we're expecting in the near future, and we expect to take these. And as I said, I'll spend the latter part of the talk or the conference call on the press release. So starting with Illusion. Illusion really is what's kept the lights on for the last 10 years. We've, despite operating until the last, I guess, 12 to 14 months on a shoestring budget, we were able to build a global brand, that's a Freudian slip, global brand with Illusion, and have several marquee projects around the world. Most of you have probably been to the 9/11 Museum in New York. Our material clads the foundations of the original towers. We've got the Prada Museum in Milan, which is a spectacular building, which I recommend everybody, if you're in Milan, go see it, not just because of our material, but because it's such a unique museum. We finished the Google campus in California. We hope to soon start on New York, on their campus in New York. And we've been on numerous commercial and condo buildings from New York to Amsterdam. And as I said, we've done this all on a shoestring budget. Last year, we put proper resourcing into this business because I think this business can be a very substantial business. And we did that by putting boots on the ground in Europe. We have a senior business development hire, the US based, who is going to expand our network in the US. And we've also enhanced significantly our digital marketing budget. So we are expecting a record year in Illusion based on our pipeline. I don't see why we can't build this business substantially based on the foundations that we've created over the years. And it remains still a very important part of our business. Moving on to Smart Metal. Smart Metal in military, we've been at that quite some time. Again, we properly resourced that just 12 months ago. by hiring basically a consulting firm out of Washington that specializes in bringing non-US military technologies to the US military. They've been particularly effective for us. And we've also put a senior business development person on board to bring that forward. We're kind of excited about military. Military budgets right now are expanding dramatically. No doubt all of you are familiar with what's going on in Ukraine, and that has basically forced the Western world to look at their military spending and the types of warfare that they're engaging in. And we happen to play an interesting part in the types of warfare that is playing out in Ukraine. This year, we are expecting to get our first serial production order from our Asian military vehicle contractor. It's been a long time coming. As I said, we are expecting serial production by the end of the year for that. It's been a long haul, but we're confident that we are going to get it. We have spent the last 3 years with partners and one partner particularly developing what's called multi-threat panels. And these are military panels that combat 6 different threats, and we play a very large part in this. We expect to start ramping up significantly this year with our partner out of the US, both in the military sector there and, sadly to say, in the school sector in the US. The schools very much are looking to enhance or fortress, in effect, their doors and walls and classrooms, portables, that sort of thing. And these sorts of panels are going to be a large part in that. Again, a very sad situation in the States, but there you have it. In the longer term, we hope to be on a number of the trucks that will be chosen for an entire revamp of the military's supply truck, program. They're revamping, I think it's something like 30 or 40 trucks, reducing it down to 3 or 4 main vehicles. They've gone out to the commercial truck makers to put in proposals. They're due next February, and we expect to be on with multiple components on a number of those trucks. Again, that term, but could be a very fruitful and lucrative business for us in military. Nuclear, we've been in it for a while. We are starting to see ramp up in orders, particularly from our white label contractor out of France, France, of course, is the most prolific of the nuclear countries. It's interesting. We've seen much more quoting activity very recently, and I suspect what's driving that is the oil crisis created by the war and the revisiting of nuclear nuclear power, and particularly called nuclear. So it's too early to say whether that's going to play a large role, but we are firmly in that business. Our joint venture in Spain with Alucoil, where we stand with that right now is Alucoil has built a commercial plant in their northern Spain industrial complex. It got derailed because of COVID, both on our side and on their side. Their business was shut down, and they're very much trying to get back to business as usual in Spain. We work very closely there with Rio Tinto to develop a new alloy in terms of a new alloy for the foam that would be appropriate for brazing. We continue to work with them and NRC today to advance the full-scale brazing trials. We were not able to get sufficient or adequate equipment during COVID to complete those trials. And we are hoping that in the next number of months, those trials will be completed, which would then put us in a position to finish commercial trials in Spain. and start a commercial rollout with that endeavor. I continue to think that that is a massive opportunity for us. For those of you who don't know, the reason it's relevant is there was a tragic fire in the UK that used these sorts of panels that weren't brazed, but were they used adhesives for it. And instead of these panels acting as a fire retardant, they ended up acting as an accelerant because they delaminated, and the core material in the panels created a sheaf of fire that swept up on the outside of the building. So building codes are changing. We expect to be first mover in that space. That is a massive space. It's $4 to $5 billion worth of panels a year that are sold into various industries, from construction, facades, to elevator cabs, airplane floors, train floors, anywhere where you need a light, stiff panel. So we continue to be very enthusiastic about that opportunity. With respect to our Mississauga plant, in anticipation of significant volume buildup there, I hired a veteran plant builder and operator from Europe, and a car industry veteran. And he's been instrumental in our capital program there. This is a $2 million plus capital program that's designed to increase our capacity there and to reduce costs, improve efficiency, all those good things, get us to ISO, all the things that we need to be a serial producer in both military and in automotive. We are about halfway through that program. We would expect that once completed, our capacity would grow to about $75 million of output from that plant, and our cost would be substantially reduced. Moving on to automotive, we had almost a 10-year hiatus in automotive, but I have to say we have, in the last 18 to 24 months, doubled down on it, and principally to take advantage of the electric vehicle revolution. Traditional automakers have been forced to look at much different solutions to problems and use materials that they traditionally wouldn't use, more esoteric materials such as ours. And what they're fighting basically in electric vehicles is two challenging or competing phenomena. One is that they have to reduce weight, because there's a direct correlation between weight of the vehicle and range, and range is still one of the most significant marketing features of an electric vehicle. The second is passenger safety. If you think of a traditional car with an internal combustion engine, it's a steel frame. It's got a massive engine block in the middle, and that forms a very large part of the safety features of the car. You don't have that anymore, so they have to, in a very lightweight way, figure out how to provide the same sort of occupant protection for electric vehicles, and that is particularly challenging. We've also learned over the years that just showing up at OEMs or tier 1, tier 2 parts companies with our material and talk about all the wonderful properties of our material isn't particularly effective in today's environment. So we've done a number of things to correct that. First off, we formed a partnership with Tesseract, which is a small automotive design house out of Arkansas. And they are experts in working in crash mitigation, and particularly using aluminum foam in aluminum structures. We have a stake. We've purchased a stake in that company, and I also sit on the board to make sure that our interests are aligned, as they are integral to our component-centered strategy currently. We have very experienced business development resources, something we haven't had really since the early 2000s. And we have 4 very senior business development resources from the automotive industry, each of them with 30 plus years. And that's made all the difference in the world for us in terms of navigating the tricky waters of automotive, understanding what matters, what's important, what have you, and smoothing the path to hopefully serial production. The other thing we've done, I think strategically, and it is paying off, is to put a particular focus on battery boxes. Battery boxes are something that the industry really hasn't figured out yet. I'll give you some metrics that put things in perspective. The battery of a larger, say, SUV weighs something like 2,000 pounds. The battery alone, that's the cells. A typical sedan, internal combustion sedan, weighs anywhere from, say, 2,200 to 2,500 pounds. So the weight of the cells alone weigh almost as much as a traditional vehicle. And the only way they figured out how to protect it so far is to put a steel box around it. And that steel box can weigh anywhere from 300 to 400 pounds. So the combination of the steel box and the cells weighs almost exactly what a traditional ICE vehicle or internal combustion sedan would weigh. So there's a lot of innovation to be done in battery boxes, and we think that our material is uniquely suited for that. So that brings me to what we announced the other day. This particular OEM, it's a global OEM, and they've made a very strong commitment to electric vehicles, to ultimately convert all of their vehicles to electric. And we've been working with them for almost a year now. In fact, our first mandate with them was to design an entirely new battery box, which we put quite a bit of thought into. I think we proved to them that both our design capability through Tesseract and our own metallurgical engineers and our material could play a very interesting role in their battery box design. They came to us about halfway through that and said, well, there's some low-hanging fruit here. We have an existing vehicle in the market that has an anything but optimized battery box. And what we'd like you to do is look at one element of it that is particularly complex. So this is a traditional steel box, and it's got 7 struts, rails, beams, whatever you want to call it, on the bottom and on the top. And these are the existing part is a very complex part. It's got 38 pieces to it, all kinds of different steels, all kinds of different welds, adhesives. Anyways, it's optimized to take the weight of the battery, but it's in no way optimized for energy absorption, weight of the component itself, complexity of constructing the actual piece, and then the cost of the piece. So we were contracted by them to take that piece and optimize it. So we spent a bunch of time coming up with conceptual designs with them. And we finally came to a meeting of the minds. They liked our design, and we entered into a contract, which they are paying us for, to optimize that design concept and to do the simulation work. And we have a relatively short timeline for that. End of the summer, we have to have that work done. And then the next phase of that is that we have to produce physical prototypes, which the OEM will then take and test both, in isolation to correlate to our simulation results, and then full vehicle tests. So a couple of takeaways from this opportunity for us. These are very large parts. And there's, as I mentioned before, there's 14 beams in each of the boxes, and that is a lot of foam. The part itself is going to be significant, but it's a lot of foam. We're talking about hundreds of dollars of foam per vehicle. So this is a very consequential opportunity for us from a volume perspective. Second takeaway is that this particular part or battery box is common to a large portion of their fleet. So what that means is that it's not just one platform, or not one model. It covers numerous models, something like 2/3 of the OEM's entire fleet. The next thing is that this is plug and play. So that means that by switching out the existing rail with our technology, it doesn't affect any other part of the design of the box, the design of the vehicle, anything like that. So in automotive parlance, that's referred to as a running change. And that's important because typically with OEMs, the timelines to actually getting into production are very long. They're shortening up for sure, and Tesla's forcing them to do that, but they're traditionally very long. But if it's deemed to be a running change, then as soon as it's proven out, they tend to put it into the vehicle. They'll integrate it into the earliest year. I think in this case, we're probably looking at, best case would probably be a 2024 vehicle, which means we have to be ready and starting to produce parts in 2023, which is not that far away. Basically, the best case would be 12 months. I would say probably 12 to 14 months. If we are successful with this part, we will be in volume production. So the other thing that is interesting to us is that they've also asked us to, after we've finished work on this part, look at other aspects of the battery box design. And we've presented some conceptual ideas already to them. They are very interested in it. So we're going to walk before we run, but I think we have plenty of opportunity in the battery box for this particular OEM. And quite frankly, most OEMs are using a very similar battery box. So once you're in with one OEM, the chances of being considered for part upgrades, optimization of performance, what have you, with other OEMs becomes much more realistic, and timelines likely shorter to get to market with them, given that you're already in the market. So next steps for us is that we obviously have to get through the various phases of design. We are confident that it will be successful. As I said, the OEM would not have entered into a contract if they weren't confident in the design. Having said that, we do have to optimize the design, but we also have to figure out how to deliver the part. And there we're in discussions with a number of major tier ones who have interest in being the part integrator. Our main interest is that we get the part and that we tick as many boxes to give comfort to the OEM as possible at these early days, because we are a very small company. We haven't delivered an auto part before. And if we can align ourselves with a very credible, substantial tier one, I think that would take a lot of the fear factor away from the OEM. So that sort of concludes where we are. Like I said, this is very exciting for us right now. It's been a long time coming for us, and I think it is truly transformational for the company. And I look forward to advising our shareholders as we get through the various stages here, and hopefully getting to the finish line with this particular part sooner rather than later. So thank you very much for your attention. I will be happy to answer questions now.
Thank you, Michael. We're going to go over now, I guess, now to the Q&A components. I've just been looking through the questions here, so I have a few. I think you answered some of them already, Michael, so forgive me if I'm asking some questions because some of the stuff was popping up before you fully had your speech. So I'm just going to ask one here. Sounds like you've answered most of it, but I'll just ask it anyway. What is the schedule to develop the part, etc.? How confident is CYMAT on developing the part successfully? And if things go well and the part gets the green light, when do you hope to get a production order? And finally, assuming the part is successful in production and orders received, what's the potential dollar value of the contract order?
Well, I think I covered most of that off. Very prescient questions. I think we think alike in terms of what's important. Listen, we're bound by NDA, which of course is why it's the OEM is not mentioned here. You know, I'm walking a fine line here in terms of talking about volumes and specifics. But suffice it to say that, as I said, that it's hundreds of dollars per vehicle of foam alone. And if you consider the part, and because OEM is our customer, so even if we partner with somebody to deliver the part, you know, we would have a piece of that action as well. So, you know, it's going to take a while to ramp it up. No OEM is going to take a small company like us and bet the farm on it. But I would be hopeful that we would be into volume production in 2023, probably the latter part of 2023. And as I said, these are in the very, very high hundreds of thousands of vehicles that we've been asked to quote on for the parts. So I think you can probably do the math with what I've said.
All right, thank you, Michael. The next question I see here is Alucoil. Is there any other updates that you want to give everyone on Alucoil?
Well, not really, other than I am very enthusiastic about how enthusiastic Rio Tinto is helping us out here. As I mentioned, they were integral in helping us develop an entirely new alloy for a foam that was appropriate for this. And they are our key supplier, so it's in their interest to see us succeed. I acknowledge that. But the fact that they stepped up and are assisting with getting us through the full-scale trials for brazing, I think is a very strong indication of their interest and confidence in the project. I can't put a specific timeline on it because NRC is involved, and that's you know, they are quasi-academic, so tough to predict timelines. But I'm hopeful that next couple of months we should be through those trials, and then we will have done everything that we need to do, which is the specific foaming technology and the specific brazing technology. And really, Alucoil's job is to figure out how to, in an industrially sound and commercially sound manner, make these panels. So I am hopeful that by the end of this calendar year, we're going to be into commercial trials with them, and then commercial rollout probably early 2023.
Next question, Michael. If successful, will CYMAT be sole sourced on the commercial production contract?
Well, if we're talking about the component that we're working on, yeah, because it's all the design will be proprietary. You know, the foam, of course, is proprietary. So yes, we will be sole source for it.
Okay. Let's see. Who did CYMAT compete against to secure the prototype agreement?
That's a tricky question to answer because we, of course, believe that they're only working with us to optimize this solution. But I can't, with any degree of certainty, say that you know, they are looking at another solution as well. All I can tell you is that this particular OEM is very interested in aluminum foam for their future electric vehicles. And that's not restricted just to the battery boxes. They've shown a great degree of enthusiasm for foam in a number of areas of their electric vehicle platforms. So, as I said, I have no intelligence whatsoever to say that they aren't looking at other things. All I can tell you is that we're being paid for this work. We've got very tight timelines to deliver the various phases of this, and that gives us the confidence that we believe that we are the principal solution that they're looking to.
Next question I have here is, what percentage of your current production capacity would commercial volumes represent?
Well, I suppose it depends on how quickly both military, Illusion, and the automotive opportunities ramp up. As I mentioned before, we will in short order have capacity of about 75 million. You could probably increase that capacity if we dedicated it to one product or one SKU, automotive or military or what have you. But on a broad mix, we think that we can produce $75 million out of that. It's anybody's guess as to how quickly we get to that capacity. We know that ultimately we are going to have to build additional plants, both for the multi-threat panel, which is an obligation we have to them once we get to a certain commitment, volume commitment. And obviously, the automotive volumes that we're targeting are significantly larger than what we can produce out of our Mississauga plant. But the timing depends on how quickly these things ramp up.
Okay. Next question, and I'm going to unmute Neil for this question because Neil, you might want to chime in on this question. And the question is, what efforts are being made to increase the institutional follow on the company?
I'm happy to address it, Michael, if you want me to.
Sure.
So firstly, Michael's got some great connections over the last several years. Michael, CYMAT already has a pretty significant institutional base. The one thing I should mention is that there's about 70 million shares fully diluted outstanding, which for a company been around as long as Michael's been around and CYMAT's been around, it's not a lot of shares. But the interesting thing that really is of interest to me is we know where the shares are. And Michael, you and I talk quite a bit, and I can probably tell you where 95% of that paper is, give or take, which is unusual because with most clients, you can't gain that kind of grasp on who your shareholders are to such a broad, to such a concentrated extent. So we have a really good shareholder base. Michael, you've had 5 or 10 guys, right, that have been with you for years who have faith in this company. So we've got a strong institutional presence. But recently, in the last year, as Michael will tell you, we engaged A Capital, who's been amazing. 8 was Dundee Capital originally, I believe, but it's a bunch of guys from Dundee, CIBC, and Canaccord. Our main contact, John Sutherland, has been just an amazing partner. I think it's a fair comment, Michael, to bring us, and they're strictly an institutional firm. So Michael went to raise $1 million, $1.5 million. Closed over 5 million, as you know, because it was released last April of last year. But we look towards that continued guidance from 8 to increase our institutional presence. They are a great firm that has raised obviously billions of dollars and have a great presence. So it's been a big factor, I think. Michael, I think we agree on that. Having a strong institutional dealer like A Capital in our corner, I think, is a great CYMAT and CYMAT going forward. So in terms of our institutional presence, bottom line, we have a good presence right now with A Capital, and we also talked to some of the other dealers, mainly institutional dealers, because Michael, I know, has had recent calls actually with some other, which these are well-known names in Canada, so I won't mention, but other institutional dealers that obviously have a strong presence in the country and globally as well. So that institutional presence, I think, will increase. So that being said, I think we're pretty comfortable where we see that side of that investor base unfolding in a positive manner.
Yeah, I would echo that. Thanks, Neil. A Capital has been very helpful to us. Obviously starting raise that created the opportunities for us to really undertake most of the initiatives that we've undertaken in the last 14, 15 months. So I also like the fact that they're an institutional firm. CYMAT in the very least used to be heavily institutionally owned. We're going back quite a ways, but I understand the importance of a substantial institutional shareholder base, and you know, as our market cap grows and we you know, become more interesting to institutions, you know, I will certainly do my part in trying to attract institutions. The reason I've got a blurred background right now is I'm out in Kelowna for the TSX 50 Investor Conference. That's we were part of the TSX 50 in 2021, so the best performing 50 stocks on the TSXV, and they've been asked to present at an investor conference out here starting tomorrow. So hopefully I'll have an opportunity to speak to a whole lot more shareholders and some institutional shareholders, and you know, spread the gospel. The timing couldn't be better in terms of you know, our opportunity in the automotive world, and you know, spreading that gospel.
Michael, I know we have a few more questions here, but I'm going to just, I know we're limited on time, so I'm going to add one more question to this call. Unfortunately, I can't get to everyone today. The question was, will you require further capital to complete and deliver on this potential contract?
I don't believe that we're going to need capital in the near term because we are getting substantial capacity increase in our Mississauga plant. And as I mentioned, with respect to this particular contract, it'll likely be, you know, one particular model first, and then they'll start layering on other models. So I don't see us needing capital for the foreseeable future, for sure. Again, all bets are off if, you know, the multi-threat panel business starts to grow faster than we think, or, you know, there's a tighter timeline than we predicted on the automotive ramp up. But I think those are high-class problems to have, and we're obviously willing to tackle them. If we have to go to the markets to raise capital for additional plants, we certainly wouldn't do that unless we had good contracts in hand to do that. So I think that would be a good problem to have.
All right. Well, thank you, Michael. And again, thank you for your time today on behalf of everybody. I know, Neil, you had a couple of closing comments you want to make, and we'll take it over to Neil.
Thank you. And so first of all, Michael, thank you for taking your time today to meet with us. We have a lot of people after the release came out, Michael, on the automotive, of course, and a lot of people had been waiting for that. That really had quite a few questions. And of course, as much as I try my best to answer those, Michael, they do want to hear from the horse's mouth. So first and foremost, thank you, Michael, for your time. And I know, especially with the flight, the Kelowna, the event, I know it was a bit hectic for you, but we do appreciate your time today, and thank you for that. I just want to provide just a couple last comments. One, again, the stock is very tightly held. There's not a lot of shares outstanding. The one thing, and remember, I'm IR, I'm biased, and everyone knows I am biased, but the one really exciting thing that, and I've been with Michael, by the way, over 10 years. This is not new. Like, we speak almost every day. Like, we speak a lot. Like, I know this company well. One of the most exciting things, and this is the small cap, so we're small cap, high risk players. When you're talking with automotive companies, threat panels, these are potentially massive contracts. And we all deal small cap, we're all risk takers, a lot of us. But the one thing I love about the opportunity on, Mike, what's the market cap? What was it, 30 million right now? Around there, or
30 million.
Yeah, right. So, right around there. So, if you look at the sheer, and you got to leave aside one auto contract, they'll sign several, but the sheer size of the companies that Michael's talking to, these are auto parts, automotive, threat panel. These are not $500,000 contracts. So, I mean, we don't need to take over the world here. CYMAT doesn't need to sign half the market. You sign 1, 2, 3 of these automotive contracts, and I can't speculate, and we've talked about it. but the numbers are staggering in terms of what the potential revenue growth and upside to CYMAT is. Michael spent 20 years of his life. He's also, by the way, you may or may not know this, the stock split when, Michael, in 210, 212? Right, was it 212? 10 for one?
13.
213, 10 for
213,
one. I won't get into what Michael's hard cost is, but I do a 10 for one split when the stock was as high as $4 or $5 back then. So you can do the math yourself. So I think it's important to note he's stuck with it, Michael. We got a lot of respect and a lot of thank you, Michael, for that. But at a point now where after all this hard work, I hope we'll see the great material that you've built, because there were issues with the material as well. Those, I believe, have been sorted out, but I think it's been a long, long time coming. And it is an incredible material, a really great time, because with the EV, I'll tell you right now, you don't light the vehicle, you're finished. And Tesla's forced everybody to move aggressively. It is the right material. And I think, Michael, you had the tagline, tomorrow's material today. Is that?
Or is it every tech has its time?
Every tech, I
think
like the maybe better. So, but I think the most exciting thing to leave you on this last note is the sheer size of the companies you're dealing with is something that can really be transformational to what we can hopefully see CYMAT go through the next 1, 2, 3, if not several years. So thank you everybody for coming today. I'll leave it on that note. I'm excited. I know Michael's really excited. I know a lot of big shareholders on this call today. I want to thank them as well for their support, who have stuck with Michael through high and low for all these years. But I think this is right now the best time this company's been in. Stock closed up a bit today, but I still think pathetic at the 60s. And I think there's a lot of great opportunity ahead of us. And if you have any questions, call me, call Dennis, call Michael. We're always here for you guys. And again, thank you very much.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Michael, again.
everybody who took the time. And,
Thank you, everybody. Thank
All
you,
right.
Michael.
Have a good
Thank
conference,
you.
Michael.
have a great evening.
Take care, everyone.
Ciao.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.